Hello, Virgo, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs, looking at your connection to the person that you are dealing with and needing to learn the most from right now. We're looking at all three sides of the connection. We've got your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle, really looking at what is the purpose of this connection and what is the best way to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. As always, I've gone ahead and pulled the overall energy for the reading and clarified those messages, but I do have a different tarot deck that I'll be diving into for each side of this connection, as well as an advice deck that I will be pulling in at the end of the extended. Any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading with me is in the description box below. Last thing, please remember these are general readings. They will not resonate fully for everyone. So do remember to take what resonates and helps your personal situation and leave what does not. On that note, these energies can absolutely be swapped. So if you resonate more with the energy to my right than to my left, just know that's totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what does not. All right, Virgo, on your side of this connection, you have karmic path with the Two of Wands in reverse. There is a pretty big karmic cycle that this person brings to the forefront for you. And this karmic cycle at the Two of Wands in reverse has kept you out of alignment with what it is that your soul ultimately wants and what it is that you ultimately deserve. And I feel like this karmic cycle, the purpose of this connection is to help you work through this karmic cycle. There could be more purpose to the connection, but I definitely feel like that's one purpose that this connection has in your life. Now, this person, they have shadow with the Eight of Swords. So this connection really pokes at this person. And I feel like because of that, it pokes back at you, meaning, the shadow side of us is that unhealed, triggered version of us that is still, living in and projecting from our pain. And when we're dealing with someone who has a tendency to allow their shadow to control them, that will then poke at our shadow. And I feel like that's kind of how things have been going in this connection. I feel like this shadow side of both people really, really comes out in this. And that's for you where the karmic cycle lies. Now, with this Eight of Swords here, I feel like this person is kind of trapped in their own limiting beliefs regarding love and what they're deserving of. And I feel like they're then projecting that on you. I feel like they're making their limiting beliefs about love your problem or your responsibility in some way, shape, or form, which we see often in connections that is the case. In between this connection, you have past life with the Nine of Pentacles. And so what I'm seeing here is that this is some sort of a past life connection. Either this connection has been in your life for a really long time, you knew them, you knew them in childhood and you're in a connection, today, or literally talking past life connection, meaning that when you met this person, things were very, very easy, very natural. It kind of felt like you had known them forever kind of feeling. And you really, really wanted this connection to work here with the Nine of Pentacles. This connection was kind of a wish fulfillment for you. And I feel like if they were once a wish fulfillment for you, that can keep you in believing that means that they are the only wish fulfillment that you'll ever receive. Meaning that, like, if we really, really want something to work out, some sort of connection to work out, and that connection does work out in the beginning, but eventually things don't really, start to align with us as much as they once did, we can think that if that connection doesn't work out, that means that we're going to be alone forever. No, we're not going to have the love that we need and deserve, and we can attach so much of our happiness to the potential of that connection working out. But let's see what it is that you are dealing with here, Virgo. Gosh, I wish you guys could see them. They're just two scruffy little dogs. We took them to the vet and everything, don't worry. Because they're around our other dogs too. All right, Virgo's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with, clarifying karmic path with the Two of Wands in reverse. We're probably going to end up keeping them, if we're being honest, but we'll see. All right, Virgo's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with, clarifying karmic path with the Two of Wands in reverse. This is Virgo's side of this connection, please. Virgo's side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. Virgo side of this connection to the person they are dealing with, please. Yeah, okay. Seven of Pentacles in reverse, the Hangman in reverse. Although this connection it doesn't make you feel very good about yourself, I don't think. I don't think it makes you feel loved. I don't feel like it makes you feel maybe sometimes it does. Maybe there's those highs, those times where it does make you feel loved, but I feel like overall it doesn't invest in you the way that you invest in it. But for some reason, Virgo, you're hanging on to it. You're holding on to it. Maybe out of the potential of it, or maybe for what it once was. That could be something too, right? With talking about a past life connection, we can hold on to how things were in the beginning of a connection so much to the extent that we aren't accepting of how things are currently in the connection because we remember, the good times, or remember who this person once was before, for lack of a better word, their true colors kind of started to show, or lack of a better phrase, I guess. This is Virgo side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. This is Virgo side of this connection to the person they are dealing with, please. Page of Cups and the Fool in reverse. Virgo, I kind of like this energy for you because I feel like you're trying your best to approach this from an emotionally mature energy. I feel like you're trying to be honest with yourself. You're trying to be just mature. Like, I feel like you're trying to handle this in a way that you know is best for you. But I feel like that's been a lot more challenging for you than you expected. Sometimes we can see that someone or something isn't good for us, and we can try to handle it in a mature way, and it can still kind of come back to bite us in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. I just feel like there's this energy of like you're trying to handle this maturely, but with the Queen of Cups in reverse, this connection still has a tendency to like push you over the edge, like trigger you into not being so emotionally, or like, I don't know, like almost like if you're all the like for the most part in your life, maybe you have a tendency to approach things from like a calm, cool, collected place for the most part. But then with this person, it feels like it's not as easy for you to do that. Like with this person, it's 0 to 100. Like it's not easy for you to be your cool, calm, collected self because of how much this person and you also, like how much you trigger each other. So I feel like there's a dynamic in this connection that is a little challenging to understand for you, Virgo, because I feel like you don't understand why this person has such an effect on you. It's kind of like, if you're going to have a conversation with someone and so you're driving to wherever you guys are going to have this conversation, and like, you're like, I know what I'm going to say. I know what it is that I'm going to, to how I'm going to word it, how I'm going to stand up for myself. But then you get in front of that person and it's almost like you're like, you forget what you want to say, and maybe anger takes over, or sadness takes over, or anxiety takes over. And it's like, you're not able to express yourself in the way that you ultimately feel because of how much that their energy affects you, kind of thing. This is Virgo's side of this connection. Virgo side of this connection. You've sacrificed a lot for this connection here, Virgo. With the Judgment, there's a need to be very honest with yourself about how much you have sacrificed to try to make this work, or try to make this person see your value, or try to make them see that you're worth it, or that the connection's worth it. I feel like you've given a lot of yourself to this connection, and I feel like you've received not so much in return. And I feel like that's kept you, and that's kind of why it's like, I don't know, it's like maybe at one point it did align with you. Maybe it was very much what you needed at one point in your life, but over time, it just doesn't align with who you are and what you want anymore. Like maybe, for instance, you've grown up and you're like, I want a mature connection where I can communicate and I can have, honest vulnerable conversations. And maybe you didn't used to be like that, and this connection kind of was able to match your emotional immaturity, in the beginning, but now it doesn't match you so much anymore. That doesn't have to be the case, but it just feels like the way that things were in the beginning is very different than the way that things are now. And it's hard for you because I feel like you look back at how things were in the beginning and you're like, man, like that was really good, or there was a lot of potential there, or whatever the case was. But then over time, things changed, and this kind of almost unhealthy dynamic came out, and you weren't so able to. It just didn't align with you like you either once thought it would or it once did. This is Virgo side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. This is Virgo side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. One more. Virgo side of this connection, please. Virgo side of this connection, please. The World, the Eight of Pentacles. I kind of like to see this because I do feel like you're trying to do what you can to not repeat cycles in this connection. I do feel like you're trying to close cycles in this connection, but it's like you're in between closing it and repeating it almost. I want more on this Eight of Pentacles because I don't know if you're working on yourself or maybe you're trying to work on the connection. But it's like no matter how much you work on yourself, if the other person isn't working on themselves, then you're just going to outgrow it even more, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's this energy of you being so willing to do what you need to make this connection work. Whether it's work on yourself or even if it's like, let's go to couples therapy or let's do this, let's do that. And I just feel like this person isn't willing to do what they need to do to make this work. But I feel like, to be, completely honest with you, Virgo, you're really afraid of ending this connection for good. That brings up a lot of fear and anxiety for you of like, well, what if something better never comes along? What if this person is as good as it gets for me? And I get that. I've certainly been there. But I just feel like the more that you invest in this connection instead of in yourself, the more you stay stuck in the cycle. Now, sometimes people can get stuck in a cycle on working on themselves for a connection. When the connection isn't willing to work, when the other person isn't willing to work on themselves just as much, which means you're bearing the burden of the connection itself. And so, I don't know, there's kind of a lot going on here, if I'm being honest. I do feel, Virgo, like you are putting your best foot forward. I feel like you have a lot to be proud of for yourself there, but this connection, it still affects you a lot. And I feel like you don't want that. Like, even if you still want the connection, you don't want it to affect you as much. You want to be able to stay a little bit more emotionally stable and mature. But this person, I don't know, I just feel like these energies, it's like they have this tendency to just like blow up in some way, shape, or form when they interact. But definitely a karmic cycle. There's a big one here, a big karmic cycle going on here. All right, Virgo side of this connection to the person they are dealing with. Virgo side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Virgo side of this connection. This is Virgo's energy toward this person, please. Yeah, because things aren't moving forward for you. Maybe you are trying to move. Maybe you're trying to move the connection forward, or you're trying to move on, whatever resonates with you, and you just feel stuck. I feel like you just feel stuck. And I do feel like that's because you had a certain idea of what this connection could be, and it never became that. It never became that idea that you had. Now, that doesn't mean that the idea that you have for love, it doesn't mean that that's not possible. It just means that it might not happen through this person. And I'm not saying that that is or isn't the case, but I am saying that the more that we can surrender over our wants, needs, and desires to the universe, the more that the universe can make things happen for us. And although it might look different than we once thought, it can still definitely be what it is that that we need. Because yeah, with the Judgment in the reverse, it's like there's this need to see the truth behind the circumstances. I feel, Virgo, I'll be honest with you, I feel like you have a tendency to look at this person and this connection through the lens of rose-colored glasses. I feel like you have a tendency to put this person on a pedestal a little bit and make them more important than yourself almost in your life. We all have a tendency to do that, right? So that's nothing to be ashamed of. There's no judgment here. But what I am saying is that you have to be very careful in doing that, because when we do that and we look at things through rose-colored glasses, or we see someone as more important than ourselves, then we'll start to prioritize their needs and their desires and, their whatever over ourselves. And that's where we can start to get ourselves into trouble. This is Virgo's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. This is Virgo's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. This is like a past life karmic cycle. Virgo's side of this connection, please. A past life karmic connection, I mean. Attachment. There's a little bit of an addiction that you have to this connection here. Sometimes when we're in connections that make us feel unsafe, and we're always wondering how the other person feels, that we're waiting for the next shoe to drop. We're waiting for the big blow up, or this person's keeping us hanging on the hook, but sometimes they give us a little bit that makes us feel really loved, but then the majority of the time they're not really giving us what it is that we deserve. Our brains actually stay producing that chemical that keeps you feeling excited. So, when you get in relationships and there's that excitement, oh my gosh, like honeymoon phase of relationships, right? It's because your brains are releasing chemicals that make you feel all lovey-dovey inside. But eventually that's going to balance out, and you're not going to, that's when like the honeymoon phase is over, you fall into what the connection is really like, and that's when, for lack of a better term, true colors come out. Well, when we're in unhealthy connections and connections that don't treat us well, our brains consistently stay in that honeymoon phase, because you're always, it's like, how do I explain it? It's like you're always in that fight or flight. You're always in that waiting for something good or bad to happen. It's like there's so much excitement that the connection never settles in. And so you start to almost get addicted to that. Not almost, you do. You start to get addicted to that feeling that person is able to provide you, even if it's balanced out by something negative. And so that's where a lot of toxic connections, even if they're long-term, are able to stay together, is because that feeling associated with the newness in the beginning of a connection is consistently being produced. And so you have to be a little bit honest with yourself about, does this connection majority add to your peace? Or does it produce highs and lows that keep you hanging on for the highs, that keep you, it's almost like chasing that high, like chasing that feeling that this person has a tendency to bring you, but being willing to experience the crash and the pain and the mistreatment associated with what you have to put up with in order to receive that high. And so there is definitely a little bit of an addiction here, a little bit of like a codependency, or like an anxious attachment even. All right, let's see what this person is dealing with. This person's energy toward Virgo, clarifying shadow with the 8 of Swords. This person's energy toward Virgo, please, clarifying shadow with the 8 of Swords. This person's energy toward Virgo, clarifying shadow with the 8 of Swords. This person's energy toward Virgo, clarifying shadow with the 8 of Swords. This person's energy toward Virgo, please. Yeah. Whew. Okay. They absolutely 1,000,000% project their insecurities onto you. if they don't feel deserving of love, or they feel like you're going to leave them or cheat on them or whatever the case might be, it's almost like they make that your problem. So you see this a lot with people who have been in situations where they've been like cheated on or abandoned. Like they have these insecurities of, I'm going to be betrayed or I'm going to be abandoned, and they make that the other partner's problem by consistently accusing them. They're not able to trust, they're not able to truly ever let anyone in, because they're always on the defense. And that's because they haven't done the healing of their past in order to show up for a relationship in the way that's needed. And so I do feel like this person, their shadow side is driving their action in this connection. And I have a lot of empathy for that, because this Eight of Swords, it represents how what we've experienced becomes what we believe, and what we believe about people and relationships is not our fault, because what we've experienced and the trauma associated is not our fault, but it is our responsibility and not other people's responsibility. But if someone has been so deeply hurt and they don't have the ability to they haven't healed, excuse me, then they will put that on everyone else and make it their problem, right? And so I feel like in this connection specifically, there's a lot of that going on. And I feel like maybe they blame you for a lot of things that aren't really your fault, or they start arguments or push you away because they don't know how to handle things in a healthy manner, because they're very much in fight or flight. Like, I feel like both people could be, because of like you definitely because of this connection, and I feel like them just because of like how things have been for them. And you can have empathy for someone for that, right? Like you can be empathetic and understanding of why someone is the way that they are, but unconditional love does not equal unconditional tolerance. We do not have to tolerate someone's mistreatment of us just because we are empathetic of why that mistreatment occurs. This person's energy toward Virgo, please. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. This person's in a heavily triggered energy. I mean, I kind of feel like they're one of those people that um, kind of self-sabotages, like in order for them not to have to get too close to anyone. Or they don't feel deserving of love or of good things in their life, and so they do everything that they can to push that away. And then make it other people's problem because they pushed it away. Man, I've been trying to mention this more and more in a lot of my readings. Like, the reason I like to do all three sides of the connection is because I've absolutely been this person who has bared the burdens of other people's problems and accepted mistreatment because I thought it was all that I deserved. But I've also been this person. And before I was this person, I was this person. I was someone who, and this was obviously in my younger days, but I was someone who was very triggered and very hurt from my own trauma. And I looked in my relationships for the people that I loved or that loved me to be the source of my healing, instead of allowing the people that I love to be a space for me to heal myself. And there's a difference there. No one can be the source of our healing. Nobody can heal us. Nobody can save us. We have to save ourselves. People can love us and be a space for our healing, but that doesn't mean that we put our burdens or project our insecurities onto other people. That means that we are willing to take that hard, honest look in the mirror and heal ourselves. So I have a lot of empathy for this person, and I can absolutely understand their thought process here, but their mistreatment of you most definitely is not deserved. It's, people treat others how they're used to being treated, right? And so there's that need to kind of understand that although this person has kind of this shadow side coming out in this connection, their shadow side is there to protect them. It is their unhealed side of themselves that they don't have that control over. And no, that is not your problem. That is not your burden to bear, nor does it make it okay, their mistreatment okay. But when you can have empathy for someone and understand why they do the things they do, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to not take it personally and not feel like they're mistreating you because you feel you deserve to be mistreated that way, or because you did something to deserve it. Because, sometimes it can definitely feel that way, especially when you're dealing with a longer term connection. This person's energy toward Virgo. Okay. Knight of Swords in reverse with the King of Pentacles. They're looking for you. Ooh, okay. They're looking for you to love the part of themselves that they are unable to love. They're projecting this, they're coming from this place of their shadow side, and then maybe they, have a tendency to think that, like, it's like they're looking for someone to love the worst parts of themselves. But if they don't love the worst parts of themselves, no one will. And it's not fair for them to say, well, if you can't handle me, I think there's something to be said for that quote. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me my best. Absolutely, right? But if you're consistently putting your pain and your insecurities and your trauma on other people, then you're always coming from that place of not taking accountability for your own healing, and you're always making that somebody else's problem. And then when you're dealing with someone who is very willing to sacrifice their needs and their desires and their even maybe mental and emotional well-being in order to try to help you, but you're not willing to help yourself, then, and I'm not saying you, Virgo, this is talking about this person, but if they're not willing to help themselves, then it's not fair for them to look to you to love the part of themselves that they aren't able to love. And maybe you do. Maybe you're like, I do love this person despite the way that they treat me, right? I do love them. I do have empathy for them. And I know there's a lot to be said for that, but unconditional love is a really tricky thing because it better go both ways. You better have that same unconditional love for yourself, enough to say, I do love this person. I am empathetic towards them. I understand why they are the way they are, but I love myself enough to know that this is not what I deserve. This is not what I have to settle for. And this is not the kind of treatment that I would wish on them. Therefore, why would I wish it on myself? Or why would I accept it myself? So they're definitely, this is a pretty intense connection and a pretty intense reading. So I'm hoping that it's being received well. All right, this person's energy toward Virgo, please. Okay, they finally made it back. They've been like running all around this house. This person's energy toward Virgo. This person's energy toward Virgo, please. They're afraid. They're coming from a place of fear. I feel like they've probably never received love in the capacity that you are willing to give it before, and that freaks them out. That makes them afraid, and they're going to react because through that, all of their insecurities and their fears are going to be triggered in that manner, and they're going to make it your fault and your problem. So you probably feel like you're never enough for this person. You can't do anything right. All you do is make them angry and or upset, or I don't know. It could be anything, right? I don't want to give examples enough to where you think, oh, well, those aren't my examples. This must not be my reading, because they're just examples, right? I tried to give examples to give kind of a bigger picture, but this person is coming from a place of fear. They're really hurt. And they're really afraid, but I also feel at the same time they're not really at that place of taking accountability for their own hurt in this in the way that they need to in order to make this connection work in a healthy manner. And maybe at one point, like, you hadn't done healing either, who knows? Maybe at one point you were willing to accept this because you didn't know any better. But maybe now you know better, and now you kind of have to start putting yourself first a little bit more. This person's energy toward Virgo. This person's energy toward Virgo, please. Yeah. Oof. It's like Queen of Cups in reverse with the Ten of Pentacles. It's like they can't handle anything good for them. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to accept it. And so what they do is they sabotage it. Anything good. So I feel like when you look at how they've treated you, it can feel like they don't see your worth or your value. And I actually don't think that's the case. I feel like they do see your value in their life, and I feel like they do see that this connection had long-term potential, but I feel like that was so scary for them because they don't feel that they deserve love. They don't know how to be vulnerable. They don't, they didn't want to get hurt again. And so they hurt you in return to protect themselves from getting hurt. Um, again, you can have empathy all day long. It's like, sorry, I interrupted myself, but you have this Eight of Swords, and then it's like their heart. This is what's happened to their heart. This is where their heart currently is. And then you try to love all of this away, and you try to give them everything they have to make these swords go away. And this, I think, is a snake, right? Make this snake loosen its grip. But you can't do that. You can't love someone into loving themselves. You can't love someone into love. The reason you can't love someone into loving you more is because you can't love someone into loving themselves. You can love someone into giving them the space to learn to love themselves. But if they're not willing to take accountability and do what they need to do, then there's nothing you can do to help them or to save them. And that's hard. It's a hard truth, but all right, this person's energy toward Virgo. This person's energy toward Virgo. Yeah, it's their inner child wounds and trauma that comes out here. Again, I feel like, yeah, and there's that Eight of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles. It's like they wanted this connection to work. I actually very much think that they did. I think, or do want this connection to work, but I don't think they have the ability to show up for it in a way to make it work. I've always said that I truly believe that every single connection, no matter what the case is, can make it work as long as both people are willing to do the work. But both people, right? You're trying to work on yourself, you're trying to do the work, you're trying to heal, you're trying to grow. That's fantastic, and that's going to lead you to being able to attract the relationships that are deserving of you. But when it comes to this connection, if this person isn't willing to do the work, to heal, to grow, to learn, then you're never going to be able to meet, because you're going to always be missing each other, right? People can only meet us to the extent that they've met themselves, and you're looking for this person to meet you on a level that they haven't even met themselves yet. So definitely a pretty karmic thing going on here, and I feel like this karmic thing that you're dealing with this person could be a karmic connection, or a karmic cycle that you've experienced in a lot of other connections in your life. But we're going to hop on over to the extended to look at the truth of this connection, the purpose of this connection, and how to move forward in alignment with your higher self. You have past life and Nine of Pentacles. I'm going to pull 9 different messages, then I have an advice card to pull at the end. Thank you so much, Virgo, as always, for your support of my channel. I do hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, Virgo, I wish you nothing but love and healing on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Virgo.